Brilliant.
An ostrich told me the world is fake, and I think I believe it. Yes, that's the name of this wonderful short animation, which has been Oscar nominated this year. And it's my great pleasure to be speaking to the creator of this stop motion animation, Lachlan Pendragon. Lachlan, welcome to Movie Metropolis.
Thank you so much. Hey, Peter, how are you?
Great to talk to you. And let's first of all start about process, because the title is incredible. But tell me about the story. How did you, first of all, come up with the idea, the story? Because it has a wonderful sort of, I don't know, it has a political, historical, it has a whole range of issues in it.
It does, yeah. It's got some meta things happening. It's also got some existential things happening. But then it's also just about this kind of lonely office worker who's kind of stuck in it. He's stuck. He's kind of stuck in this job that he's not very happy with. And I think that's something that is relatable to a lot of people. And so where it started for me was actually from a research perspective. I wanted to do something in stop motion, and one of the ways I could do that was going back into film school, and through higher degree research, I could do a research project, and it could be a stop motion film. So from there, I was figuring out what this research project was going to be. I was really interested in what was so charming about stop motion for me, and what I enjoy about it. It's one of those mediums that is kind of antiquated, but still has this charm, and it's still like around even today. So someone who, like myself, who practices at that type of animation, it was important for me to kind of figure out what is it about that I want to get better at, because it's one of those things, if you're trying to get better at it, what are you aiming for? And for something like stop motion, it's it's something about the imperfections and the tactile, like the mistakes that are part of the charm. So working, like improving your craft, you kind of have to be conscious about what you're polishing, and what you might accidentally remove. And so yeah, that was in the background of my research project. So I went down this very kind of meta reflexive angle in order to really just emphasize those handmade qualities, and make sure that the audiences never forgets that this is a handmade thing. And then that also runs the risk that it'll be a bit too distracting. There's a lot of stuff happening in this film, that I was very conscious that maybe this is a bit too far, or that you won't be able to connect with the characters. But yeah, I spent a lot of time thinking about that and discussing that with my supervisors, and figuring out that balance so that you can connect with these characters but still enjoy the processes behind them.
Because the writing is so interesting. I mean, the title itself is fantastic, but the whole idea of the script, the way you've developed the story. Before we talk about the stop motion animation process, which I know is really painstaking, but tell me about developing that story and the script. And would I be right in saying Griffith University is your university?
That's right, Griffith Film School, which is under
Right.
the umbrella of Griffith University. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, the story. Uh, where do I begin? uh, I guess yeah, it began with the script writing stage. I wanted to focus on something that was relatable to everyone, and then what I often do is find the humor in that. It's quite a kind of a bleak, depressing environment. And so to make sure that it's still entertaining and still yeah, enjoyable, was something that I was definitely thinking about, in terms of the themes. There's a lot of it's this interesting thing about utilizing those sort of existential themes of like the nature of being and what makes us human pairs really well with something like animation, and using uh, reflexivity and deconstructing the processes pairs really well. And so yeah, you can have all this fun with poking fun at the process of animation, but then you can also have think about those underlying themes of what it means to be human. And yeah, and I guess the another one I like is like the fleetingness of time, or which I like with this film. You can see all the process behind it, like whizzing past, like in a time lapse. Like it's so quick, and you see these hands moving around really quickly, and then what you're watching is this like sort of dull office environment where everything's slow and mundane, and that always yeah, makes me giggle. But also then you can think deeper about that, and yeah, what it means. Um, what it means to be human, and what it means, what use of time is. Yeah, that's a jumble of words, but yeah, what it means to.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, no, that's fine. I mean, it's a bit like, I suppose, The Office, where you do satirize that, and the TV series
Right.
that satirize that. But I'm interested then, why an ostrich, and how did you come
Mhm.
up with the title?
Um, yeah, like there was quite a few things that we were thinking to include. We needed this eccentric kind of character, and for me, I wanted something that was like really big, really out of place in an office environment that would like knock things over, kind of a little bit scary, but also could be friendly if you needed it to be. And so Ostrich was on the list. Emu was on the list as well. I think, yeah, there's something about those like big birds that are like they're quite big and gangly and sort of yeah, I think, and also like hilarious in that context. Um, because yeah, there were other ideas that were a lot smaller, and yeah, it needed to be that big thing that was like, this is so strange and unusual. And then what was the second part of that question?
Oh, and the title itself,
The
using,
title.
yeah.
Yeah, that was very much towards the end of the process. We were looking for a title. Titles are very difficult to come up with, and so I had a bunch of options. Nothing was really working, and so one of the strategies was, oh, well, let's go through the film and see if there's a line of dialogue that works. And funnily enough, one of my supervisors was the first to suggest "An Ostrich Told Me the World is Fake," and I believe it as the title. To which I thought he was joking, and after a while, it really made sense, like especially for a film like this, to have a title like that was just absurd, and yeah, I think it's exactly the title that it needed.
Okay. Tell me about the stop motion animation, how painstaking that is. I know I've spoken with Adam Elliott, who I'm sure you're familiar with, the Oscar winner for animation.
Absolutely.
Now you're in that rank, of course, being nominated. But it takes so long to make a stop motion, because you might do a minute's worth of filming in a day, or even that if you're lucky. Tell me about your process, because it's incredible, and using also the camera observing as well, which I
Mhm.
really like.
Yeah, it's something that I really connect with. When I started studying at Griffith, I went into an animation program, And in your first year, you were taught all the different kinds of animation. So I was trying to figure out what I wanted to specialize in, and nothing was connecting until I got back to stop motion. Like I had made stop motion clay videos in high school, yeah, so it took a while to come back to stop motion, and realize that is what connected the most. And I think there's definitely something unique about it that you don't get with other types of animation. I think you can. It's this like middle ground between live action and animation. I think you're still using cameras and things like that. The problem solving of it is pretty similar, and so I really enjoy that. And it makes sense to me in that way. But the downside is it's very hard to be efficient with it, or scale it up. It's one of those art forms that there's not many shortcuts to speed up the process. And so yeah, it's a labor of love, and you get really used to it. I think like a lot of people will say that it takes a lot of patience or something like that. But for me, I don't really think of it that way. It's kind of this space where you can kind of get lost in a very small moment for like a few days and solve it like you would a puzzle, or yeah, it's really satisfying. And so every time you take a photo, you're excited to see how that adds to the sequence, and keeps motivating you to move on to the next thing. And yeah, it really self motivates it. I'm always learning and improving, and it takes a lot of time to improve. Especially when I look back at my past work and how far I've come until now, and yeah, it's exciting to keep going, and yeah, I'm excited to get better and improve.
Well, congratulations on that, and it really is, by the looks of it, a one-man effort, because it's your hand in the film, it's it's your voice in one of
Yeah.
the key roles, and etc. So I suppose you didn't have to wrangle a huge cast to to be part of the film.
Yeah, exactly. Like part of that was just because of the pandemic. It forced me to like have to do a lot of it myself,
Mm.
just because it's such a hands-on way of making animation. But yeah, it meant that I had a lot of control over everything, and which is nice sometimes. And yeah, I was alone by myself in a living room for about 10 months animating, um, and uh, and yeah.
Okay, 10 months. Okay, that's yeah, that's pretty right to make a stop motion animation. It does take that time, and I noticed in post production that you've added a few things, including the music, which I noticed. Is that from Carmen or from
Yeah, it's Habanara
Habanera?
from the opera Carmen. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So again, decisions had to you made decisions about how the post production would work as well.
Yeah, I mean, uh, the thing with animation is a lot of that is figured out, um, like in the storyboarding phase. Like you edit most of the film in that before you start animating, just so you're not animating more than you need. But yeah, there's always in that post production phase those last minute tweaks and figuring out the right yeah, the music and the sound and those things. Not exactly my best skills, but yeah, it's definitely something that I'd love to collaborate with other people on moving forward.
Excellent stuff. Okay, now let's talk about the big deal. How did it come about that the film was Oscar nominated?
Yeah, it's pretty miraculous, for a student animation from Brisbane, Australia. It's great, and the way it happened for me is well, for a student film, you have to win an eligible award, and I won the gold medal at the Student Academy Awards, and I also won the Best Australian Short Film at MIFF out of Melbourne. And so winning those two awards, I can then submit it to the Oscars. And that in itself was like a big, hooray for the film. We submitted it to the Oscars, which felt incredible. Not really thinking much else of that. And so, yeah, then it goes through that process. There's like quite a long voting process for the Academy Awards. And you find out who the shortlisted films are, which is the top 15. So for the animated shorts category, there was about 80 shorts submitted. So then it gets shortlisted to 15. Then there's another voting process. And then from that, the top 5 are selected, the nominees. Which each step is like, oh my gosh, like we've made it to that next,
I can imagine the excitement. Yeah, fantastic. So how were you informed that you were a nominee?
Well, you watch it with everyone else, like the nominations are read out live. And so you find out with everyone else.
They don't inform you beforehand?
Absolutely not, no, yeah.
How interesting. You must have celebrated intensely when you found out that you were nominated.
I did. It was really late at night as well. I didn't go to bed that night. I just stayed up sort of pacing around the house going, oh my gosh. Yeah.
Fantastic. And are you going over to the ceremony on for the 12th of March?
I am, yeah. So I'll be out there sort of before that in the lead up, going to different events and things, and then I'll be going to the the big ceremony with all the A-list celebrities, and it's gonna be such a bizarre thing, and walking the red carpet and getting dressed up and sitting in that room with everyone, all these filmmakers that you look up to.
You can always turn that into a stop motion animation. That could be really interesting.
Yeah, it could be. Hey, yeah.
The Oscar stop motion. Tell me, I shouldn't assume. Did Adam Elliott at all contact you and congratulate you, being a former winner?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he was really, really lovely. He reached out and we had a phone call and talked about stuff. You're giving me some advice, because he's been through it all before and knows exactly what I'm in for when I go over. So that was really lovely of him. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I hope it goes well. Now, I must ask you a few things. First of all, what was it that drew you to being a filmmaker and using stop motion animation as your key approach?
Yeah. So what drew me to filmmaking, and then what drew me to stop motion specifically?
Yeah.
Yep. I was always playing with cameras and things in high school, like during lunchtime would be in the media room playing with equipment. And so that I always thought that I would go into live action. And stop motion was this other way that you could make films. And so I applied for live action filmmaking, but I didn't get in. I didn't have the right ranking score leaving high school, and so I had animation as a backup because it was this other thing that is like, oh, okay, I really enjoyed this. Maybe there's something here that I can go and figure out more about and see if there's a fit for me. And stop motion kind of was, and I think it comes back to like it's that interesting middle ground between the two that I connect with so much, and because then I've practiced that for I think about 5 or 6 years now. That just sort of naturally are the tools that I go to make films, like because that's what I know now, and so yeah, that's what I continue to invest in and continue to learn in. I still have interests in other fields like computer animation, just to sort of keep keep an eye on what's happening. Yeah, especially with computer animation, you can pretty much replicate a stop motion aesthetic now, which is a little scary, but also pretty amazing. And so, yeah, and a lot of like post-production stuff I also find fascinating. Um, I'm also, yeah, pretty interested in figuring out all that virtual production stuff that's very popular at the moment. So yeah, I think it's just the tools that I've been practicing so far, and so that's what I use because they're familiar to me.
Sure. Would you perhaps also consider planning a feature-length stop motion animation or something else?
Absolutely. Like a feature film is always that big dream of like, that would be amazing. And so, yeah, it's interesting that I'm having those thoughts now of like, I could potentially make that happen a lot sooner than I anticipated, and that's
Mm.
really exciting.
Absolutely. I don't know if you've seen Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, which is a great use of stop motion, taking it to another level.
Mm.
Were you impressed by that film?
Yeah, it's an amazing achievement and a brilliant film. I managed to see it in cinemas as well when it had like a short run in cinemas, and that was, yeah, it was great to see stop motion because you don't see many stop motion
Mm.
features, and so it's really nice to see that, and uh, you, yeah, you get that tactile sensibility from the film. Um, and yeah, because yeah, I just am so inspired by it because it's the best of stop motion, uh, like people working on it, and so yeah, you just get inspired and you want to continue doing what you do.
Excellent stuff. I'm just intrigued with the other four short animations nominated for the Oscars. Have you seen them? What do you think?
I have. It's yeah, it's a really cool year for the animated shorts category. They're pretty much all independent shorts. Um, there's kind of something for everyone. Like they're kind of difficult to compare. Um, and I like that. I think, yeah, if you sort of see them all together, there's bound to be a short in there that you will enjoy.
Okay, fair enough. And just to conclude, Lachlan, have you seen any other films of late or television shows, whatever, that have impressed you?
Yes, I started watching The Last of Us, the HBO series. Yeah, and I'm excited to as the episodes are coming out, to see how that goes. Yeah, it's some great storytelling happening in that show. Yeah, and I'm excited to see where that continues to go. The other one that I haven't seen yet, but I'm it's high up on the list, is Severance, just because it's been recommended to me so much. It has, like, I guess, a similar tone to the short film that I made.
Okay. We've been speaking to Lachlan Pendragon, the Oscar nominated for short animation filmmaker for An Ostrich Told Me the World is Fake, and I think I believe it. Terrific film. Try and catch it if you can. And I wish you luck, Lachlan, at the Oscars. I hope it all goes well for you.
Thank you, Peter.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.